Hi guys, I am back to do another book review. This book review is on Make It Nice by Dorinda Medley. I did mention in my books I read in 2021 wrap up that I did read this in 2021. I read this in September of 2021. I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. I read this in it took maybe a week to read it. It's honestly not that long, but I went away on vacation for a few days at the end of the summer with one of my friends. So I brought it on vacation with me and I finished it on vacation and I was able to finish it in 2 days. She is from the Real Housewives of New York City. She talks about everything. She was married once, so she did talk about that, but let's just dive in so we're not here forever. Okay, so Make It Nice by Dorinda Medley. She mentioned a lot of stuff. She goes into details, very hardcore details, about her marriage and when she married her now late husband, Richard. She said that when they got married, they moved to London and that they lived in London when they were married. And then she had her daughter, Hannah, from a previous relationship. So she said her and her daughter, Hannah, got along very well with her late husband, Richard. And the one thing she got into detail about, which I didn't know, was she worked in advertising. She worked at Grey Advertisement in the 80s, which was very interesting to me because I didn't know any of that. And she worked as the receptionist at Grey in the 80s until I think, I'm not hardcore on the dates, but I think it was until 87, 88 that she worked there, something like that. So she went into details in that and what it was like working the front desk and all the stuff she saw behind the scenes of that. And then she went into detail about that. But the stuff that really interested me was when she was on The Housewives, of course. She went into detail about she was friends with Sonia and Ramona, and she got on the show because and she also was friends with Joe Zarin too, who was a former housewife. She went into details on all of that, and what I didn't know was, like any housewife, I'm sure you would know that you get on the show by knowing somebody from the cast. That's how she got on the show. She talked about being friends with Sonia and Ramona, mostly Sonia, outside of the show. She, like I said, she also knew Jill Zarin, so that's kind of also how she got on the show. But at the time, Jill Zarin wasn't on the show, but she was also friends with Sonia and Ramona from just being in New York and running in the same circles. And she talked about so much that she talked about what it was like being friends with them before the show, what it was like. She talked about what it was like being friends with them during the show, and then how their relationship is now after the show. And she did talk about her fallout with Luann. She was a bride when Luann married her now ex-husband Tom. She was a bridesmaid in that in that wedding. So was Jill Zarin. So she talked a lot about that. And she talked about how all of that went down. And she hasn't spoken to Luann since she left the show. She left the show because it just became a very toxic environment, and she didn't want to be around that anymore. And quite frankly, she also just got tired of doing the show. And she talked about the relationships she has with everybody. And it was interesting because I didn't know any of this information. Well, I knew all of it because it was documented on the TV, but it was also talked about, like, behind the scenes stuff. She talked about the Giovanni incident that I'm sure a lot of you know about who watched The Real Housewives of New York City. And it was so interesting to watch because the Giovanni incident was what made her and Luann's relationship fizzle out. And she said some not nice things about everybody in here, but that's kind of how a memoir is when you're on a reality TV show. You write about it. Overall, this was, I know this review is short, I apologize. Overall, there was some stuff in here that I just think didn't really need to be. She went on and on and on about, she was on the show from season, I think 7 or 8 to season, what season are they up to now? They're up to season 15, I want to say. So I think she was on it until season 13. So she's been off it for 2 years. And she says she mentions what it's like now. She did move apartments, so now she has a new apartment. She said she was talking about coming back in some capacity, but she doesn't know what yet. So that will be interesting to see if she does end up coming back to Roni. So overall, this book was very good. It was 5 out of 5 stars. It was a bit slow in the beginning and the middle, but then once she started talking about the housewives, it picked up a lot more. It was interesting to see what she was up to after the show ended, and also along with being on the show as well. So that was also interesting to read about. Overall, I think this book was very quick. It was a fun read too, as all of them are. You could pick this. I pre-ordered this, so that's also why I bought it. And I bought it because it was a signed copy. So, if you want to pay the $28 to read this, it's honestly, to me, I think it's worth it. It was a quick read. It's nice to have a signed copy of this as well. This might be, if you're looking for a good read to read in the summer when you're going on vacation, now that Memorial Day is coming up and the summertime is coming, I would recommend bringing this on a vacation with you if you can, so you have a quick read. It could take you 2 to 3 days to finish this tops because it's about 180. It's honestly not that long. It's 185 pages, so it could take you, the whole thing is over 200, but the last chapter ends at page 185. So, it could honestly take you 2 to 3 days at the most to read this. Maybe even a day to read this, depending on how fast you read. Again, there are mixed reviews on this. Some people loved it. Some people thought it was okay. And some people were like, this is not worth the money. So depending on the person, if you want to spend $28 on it, and if you can try to get a signed copy, get one. because it will be worth it to have a nice signed edition of the book. It is, like I said, it is a book you can take with you on a vacation. If you're going on a vacation, I would highly recommend this book. If you want to get it out of your local library, that's totally fine too. She does narrate the audiobook. I did listen to some of the audiobook while I was commuting back and forth from work, when I was still working, and at the time of when I was reading this. And it was very interesting also. It's also a good quick read to read if you're traveling on a plane, a subway, wherever. If you're on a bus for 4 hours going someplace, let's say the Hamptons or any place, it's a good quick read to read on the bus ride there even. But I would highly recommend this book. 5 out of 5 stars. And yeah, let me know if you've read this or what your thoughts are on this book, and if you're going to read it, if you have any thoughts on it, if you watch The Housewives, if you've seen The Housewives, if you like The Housewives, any of that stuff, I would love to know also. I will see you guys in another video. Bye.